All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you guys can just make your way to your seats or wherever you'll be during this conversation, we're just going to go ahead and get started. We know people have to go to work soon, so we're trying to get you in and out of here. And I know the weather is a little unforgiving this morning, but we do appreciate each and every one of you guys for being here this morning. My name is Jamil Cruz. I am the founder and CEO of Cruise Control Media. We are a media production, an award-winning media production company here in Buffalo, New York, with several different verticals, one of which is our podcast production and advertising agency, the Pod Hub Plus, where we produce over 500 shows in this area since 2020. And I'm just super excited to be here this morning to share the space with a guy that I've known for so long. Me and Lindsay, we kind of go back a bit to the undergrad days, the Crown Entertainment days, way back when. Yeah, 2006, 2007, almost 20 years, bro. That's crazy. It's been almost 20 years. And, we used to work together. He actually gave me one of my first DJ gigs way back in the day. And yeah, we used to DJ over this spot called Mode over on Elmwood. It's Saigon Cafe now, but it used to be called Mode over on Elmwood. And we just always maintained a really solid relationship throughout the years. And I have the utmost respect for all of the work that he does here in this community. He does a lot. This man does a lot, to say the least. But it's all amazing things that he's doing here to push culture forward here in the city of Buffalo. So this conversation is going to be pretty free flowing. I do want to give you the respect to give just to introduce you properly, right? For those who might not know you, Lindsay Taylor, he is a master at art. He's mastered the art of merging brands, community, and culture through creative placemaking. For nearly 20 years, Lindsay has built a respected track record of working across diverse sectors, including nonprofit, government, arts and culture, entertainment, corporate, and sports, earning undeniable recognition for brand alignment and partner execution. His ability to foster trust within communities while aligning brand partnerships with impactful events has consistently led to the success and growth of all stakeholders involved. I mean, I can go on and on with this man's resume, but if we can just first and foremost, just give a huge round of applause to my brother, Mr. Lindsay Taylor. So Lindsay, again, you do a lot, bro. And it's all a good thing. And I want to preface that, but I don't want that to sound like a disparaging remark, because I know sometimes people say, when you do a lot, it can make it seem like that you're all over the place, but you're very, everything that you do has purpose, is very centrally aligned together. So I'm just curious though, with all that you have going on, what's the engine behind how you do what you do?
What's the engine or how I do it? That's the question.
Both.
Both. The engine is simple, right? The engine has always been community. Whatever I've been doing, whether it's working with youth, whether it's working in education, real estate, in the culture space, it's always been community at the core of it. There's always been a community piece to it. We talk about over this 20 years, we've been, sporting events. It was a community piece to it. So community has always been a piece to it and opportunities for our community to build together, right? And partner within there. So that's the engine behind it. How do I do it? Is discipline, right? And I always say this, when somebody asks me, discipline is doing things you don't like to do consistently. Discipline is doing things you don't like to do consistently, right? I tell my kids this, you want to have a clean house? You got to clean up every single day. If you don't clean up every single day, right, then the house is going to be dirty, right? So it's just building that consistent habit of doing things consistently. So that's the biggest piece. How I do it that's the biggest piece, is doing things consistently and being disciplined in doing that. There is a formula to how I do it. I'm super old school when it comes to this. I'm actually going to show you. I wanted to bring this. I don't think I've ever showed people this. So I write everything down. Literally write everything down.
These are the old school ones.
These are the old school ones. Oh, I gotta grab that. So So with that being said, so how I do it, right? I have this red notebook. It says you on it. So that means stop and do things for yourself, right? So whether it's family stuff, whether it's personal goals, that goes into this red binder, right? And then I have whatever the task may be. I think there's like 4 of them right here is green. That's business, right? So everything business related is in a green notebook, and there's probably 20 of these at the house, right? That I probably just kind of just go through, and I literally want to write everything down. I'm a huge believer in writing things down, right? Literally writing it down from your thought onto a piece of paper. I know we're in the age of technology and AI and things like that. Thoughts get lost in that, right? What if my phone crashes in the middle of that thought, right? What if somebody, whatever that has happened. I'm pretty sure we all have used AI at some standpoint. And you probably saying something too, or you put something in there, and it takes something that you didn't even have your whole thought all the way in there, kind of refined it. So I want it physically written, and I've seen more of the things that I wrote come to life, right? And that's just how it is. And then, God willing, years and years from now, if my kids want to go through the notebooks and they see what their dad was thinking about, years from now, they can go back and read the writing. So that's the formula of it. And then still to this day, my to-do list is written, right? And we could talk about that strategy if you want to, how I kind of do that work. But I know you probably got some more questions.
Yeah, we could talk about that. I want to kind of back up just a little bit though, because I mentioned that some of the things that you do, but let's go back a bit, right? Let's talk about like that natural progression that happened over the years. Again, I met you through, when you started with Crown Entertainment, but you've done a lot since then. I remember Balling for a Cause and the Gentleman's Institute. I mean, you've done a lot. So kind of walk us through like just the natural progression of how everything took place.
Yeah, I think when you say you're doing a lot, right? It was this meme I actually posted. I think it was like 2 days ago, and I think for a lot of the people that I'm seeing in this room, everybody has a variety of different skill sets, right? Or a lot of skill sets, a variety of different things going on, right? But there's a skill set that you have that basically propels that. I think mine is vision, right? So when I have a vision, I kind of just want to see it happen. So I go after and make it see it happen. So if I have a vision, say I want to see this national basketball tournament, I want to see it come to life. I have this vision to do this music and arts festival, I see it come to life, right? I have this vision to see, young kids doing, enrichment programs, I want to see it come to life, right? So each and every time I kind of just, envision it, right? When I started off in 2006, we talk about, the party promotion days. At that time, it was never to be in that for 20 years. That was just a stepping stone to get to the next opportunity, right? My next thing from there, I always said to myself, I want to, have I was coming from athletics. I want to have a youth football organization. And then right in the midst of that, I did that, right? And that was transition at the same time Balling for a Cause was happening, right? And that was growing, right? And then during that point, I said, hey, I want to have this, I envision this music festival. Then that transitioned, right? So then now, each and every time, so now it's just the next step of just a different era. Yeah.
I'm just curious, when you wake up in the morning, like how do you determine which hat goes on first?
All right, so the week basically breaks down like this. So I do my week. Every day has an intention. So Mondays, Money Mondays, to do Tuesdays, work Wednesdays, tighten up Thursdays, finish up Fridays, social Saturdays, self-care Sundays. So each of those days have a point in that day, right? So Money Mondays, so everything money related, right? So if it's all of us bills, right? We focus on what bills got to go out the door, if invoices, things that are coming in, right? Business related, everything. So I'm literally writing it down. Anything, any area of my life that has to do with some type of money is happening that day, or money related. Maybe say I need to set up a meeting with a sponsor or partner. It's happening that day, right? To do Tuesdays is starting off at 1 or 2 core things that I really want to tackle that day. And then work Wednesdays is a heavy work day, right? So that's something I'm working all day. Meetings is happening all day. Tighten up Thursdays. I'm usually tightening up what I've done Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I'm front loading the week. Finish up Fridays. I want to be done by 12 o'clock, right? And I say I want to be done by 12 o'clock is because my brain is shutting off at the 12 o'clock. I may want to go have a drink at 3 o'clock, right? Who wants to be working at 5 o'clock? So I really try to shut my day off at 12 o'clock. I usually probably go golf with Ron or Craig or somebody in the back, right? That's what I want to be doing on a Friday. Social Saturdays, as you know, we're involved in a lot in the community, so trying to support as many people as you possibly can to spend time with your family. And then self-care Sunday, nothing. I try to do at least anything that I want to do. I don't want to say nothing, but if I want to just sit back and relax and watch football all day, that's what I'm doing. If I want to, go out, that's what I'm doing. But it's all dedicated on me and not the work. But in regards to the morning, right? So once again, the discipline. So I usually wake up, give or take 4:30, 4:45, and that first hour of my day is nothing happening. It's just meditation. So I immediately turn on the shower, have a black shower, and I try to think about nothing. You need that first hour in that day to yourself, right? I think we all do. Right? I need that first hour of the day to ourselves. So that first hour of the day, I'm literally trying to do nothing. I'm trying to, because we can wake up and thoughts and things are just going. I'm trying to desensitize my whole mind to not think about nothing for that first hour, meditate, pray for that first hour. And that usually brings me to about 6 o'clock. And then I'll read whatever is the Bible or read something for about a half an hour. And then 6:30 is when I'll probably jump into the first thing I want to do. And I do a power half hour. So what's something I kind of want to tackle before the day gets there? And I try to focus on that for the first half hour from 6:30 to 7 o'clock, right? Because after 7 o'clock, they were talking about taking the kids to school. You're talking about your jobs calling, people calling, and the days kind of just happen. But how I kind of structure that day is literally, I try to power hour each hour of the day. Try to focus on something for at least an hour, and I try to power through that, whatever that may be in that time frame. And then usually my work day is done 5, 6 o'clock, and do not disturb comes on my phone. Yeah. So that's the boundary you have to have with other people, right? So put that do not disturb on. I put it on at 6 o'clock, right? Because usually by that time the family's having a meal, right? We're kind of trying to settle down. I learned this probably about 10 plus years ago. In real estate, one of my brokers, he says, Lindsay, there's no need to chase the deal after 5 o'clock, because if it gets closed, there's no attorneys in the office to sign off on it. The bankers are out of the office. He says you can get it solidified, but nothing's going to happen. So he's basically telling me slow down, right? And so after that standpoint, I realized that's okay. 6 o'clock is going to be the end point, right? Because if you allow for your phone just to be open to any and everybody calling you all day and every night, you never going to be able to focus on anything, right? Somebody's going to call you at 10 o'clock at night. Somebody's going to call you 11 o'clock at night just because they know that your line is open. No, my line ain't open, right? Because I need that time to kind of reboot myself for the next day.
He's not joking about his line being off, because I know plenty of times that I call this guy and it goes straight to voicemail right after. I love what you talked about, using those power hours too, because there's this technique that I use called the Pomodoro technique, right? Where, I just give myself these little spurts of, okay, this intense focus, maybe for 30 minutes at a time. I'm just completely focused on that one particular task for 30 minutes. And then I'll stop. I'll give myself maybe a 10 or 15 minute break just to kind of get my mind off of it. And they actually have a bunch of devices. There's this little clock. It's called a Pomodoro clock that I actually use. I keep it at my desk in my office. That's the thing that kind of keeps me, because I know with all of the things that goes on in my brain, I'm sure it's similar with you, our minds can kind of get all over the place at times, right? So I'm just curious though, with another thing, with all of the things that you're doing in your business ventures, you also, you have your day job. So how do you balance that time between, because that's the work that you do with your day job is pretty demanding, right? So how do you make sure that you provide balance where you're giving the folks at the day job everything that they need, while at the same time not neglecting the things that you're doing in your business ventures?
Yeah, so I put it like this: after you kind of build up this, it's almost like I come from an athletic background, so after a while you kind of get into this flow of how you kind of want to do things, right?
Build a rhythm.
You kind of build a rhythm. So right now I'm in my off season, right? And I kind of was telling some people I'm in my off season right now. Even though athletes, when they're in the off season, they're still working out, right? They're still kind of doing things to keeping their body in shape. But then when you're in season, we have a lot of things kind of moving about, right? So how I kind of sector that is, I do a lot of my stuff before I go to work, right? So we talked about earlier. So anything that I'm particularly over, I'm trying to do that before that 9 o'clock marking point, because I know I can get that stuff done in my sleep. But literally, I'm probably sleeping. I'm probably thinking about it, but I'm trying to I can get that stuff done in my sleep. So then when I go to work, right, when we talk about that focus time, is now it's just clicking. It's just now we just having conversations. Now we just flowing. So it doesn't feel like work. It's so that's how I kind of sectored off. Usually, that's 6 to 9 is focusing on stuff I'm doing, and then 9 to whenever is work stuff, and then the tail end of the day is kind of pigeonhole back on my stuff. So I kind of sector the day like that.
Lindsay, how do you know when to push and when to pause?
All right, so it took kidney stones to figure that out, and that happened back in 2012, where I was pushing myself so far, right, and just driving myself into the ground, where I literally developed kidney stones from the stress of pushing myself so far. So when I said that was 12 years ago, I said, okay, you got to know when your body has enough. You got to know when to take that rest. You got to so. And it's just like I keep saying, it goes back to having almost like the athletic background, but you just feel it. Like, I'm in that season now. I was like, all right, I could take a little bit longer of a nap, right? And don't feel bad about doing it, right? So, and I'm so far down the line in my thought process that I'm looking at, okay, I know what the polo match is going to look like next year in June, right? I know, what this weekend is going to look like in July. I know what this weekend is going to look like in August. Right, so I know where to find those pockets at to kind of relax at and take my time away. So, say for instance, every first weekend of August, right before the celebration weekend, I usually go away, right, and just get away, for a little bit. So I find those pockets to kind of just have those rest periods as well too. So,
when you said kidney stones, you kind of struck a nerve a little bit, for me personally, because I dealt with something similar, right, and I think you're aware, but back in 2011, I was going so hard and everything that I was doing going back and forth, traveling to New York City a lot, sitting for long stretches of times, and I developed a blood clot in my leg, right? And that blood clot broke off, traveled to my lungs, and I ended up having a pulmonary embolism. And right before I got married, actually, I was in the hospital. I got out the hospital, 2 days before my wedding. Couldn't even walk at my wedding. People see me in wedding pictures with my hand behind my back. It's because I had a cane behind my back because I had to walk. I was supposed to walk with crutches because I really couldn't walk. But at that moment, that's when I realized that I had to slow down a little bit, right? And I had to start listening to my body. And because we only get one chance at this thing at life, right? And especially when it comes to our bodies, we have to make sure that we're taking care of our bodies. So I'm curious to know what you do now. How do you take care of your body, right? How do you take care of your mental? How do you take care of your body physically to allow you to keep doing the things that you need to do?
First, I think it's mental, right? The biggest thing is the mental piece of it. And I think I'm just a huge believer in what you're thinking and what you're saying. Plays a lot into what you're doing. So for me, it's a mental thing. So that self-care Sunday is literally that, right? Where I try to just focus on myself, instituting that first hour in the morning of just me time plays a part into that, right? And then in the midst of that early morning, going to go work out and just trying to get your body moving. Now, I'm not trying to tear ACL, so I'm not playing any rec football or flag football. So I'm going to, got into golf in the last year and a half. So going to do that. So that's therapeutic, right?
You get up there in age too, bro. We can't do flag football.
Yeah, I can't be doing flag football. I can't be, just can't do it. So it's just keeping those things, your body moving, trying to stay as active as possible, but really those mental points of just relaxing, right? And listen to your body at all times, And I think also too, as we talk about yourself, is even more so as we get into these very busy times, is spending that time with your family too, right? Because when you do it all, you still have to find that time to spend with your family. And I recently got some really great advice. Gentleman Tom Ayler's in the back, who says, Lindsay, take an hour each day with each one of your kids, separately. Not all together, but separately. So I'm instituting that now into this. So along the way of this, of this journey is taking things that you learn from people who are mentors or people who are around, just things that you kind of have happen to institute in what you're doing. So we find time to have an hour for, meet somebody for a drink, or have an hour to go play golf, or have an hour to set up a business meeting. So intentionally taking that time for each one of them individually is something I'm working on now, not just as a collective, because we always do things as a collective, but individually, and have those own individual conversations. So that's a piece of it too.
Yeah, that's a good segue to my next question too, that I wanted to talk to you about, which was family, right? So because you are a man of many talents, but you're also an amazing family man. You're a husband. You're a father of a amazing child. I mean, four children now, right?
A lot of them.
Got a whole tribe over here. So I love that advice that Tom gave you about spending time, trying to take, that individual hour for each of your kids. I have one son, he's 3 years old, and I try to make sure that I'm really intentional around making sure that I'm spending time with him as well, right? So I love the relationship that you have with your wife, right? Y'all are amazing dynamic together, right? So I'm just, from your perspective, can you talk about the importance of having a good supportive spouse who allows you to be able to do the things that you do while she, kind of makes sure home is taken care of?
Because she's the complete opposite. She doesn't want to have, fire is complete opposite, not in a bad way, but like
she doesn't want to be in the spotlight like that.
Yeah, right. I really don't want to be in the spotlight either, but her the main task that I have is really holding the family down, right? And allowing me to be in that space that I'm in, and understanding that, I may have to be out here and be out there, and having full respect and trust in that. So knowing that, and knowing that everything is going well, and I have to test everything from stay on top of the homeworks and stuff like that. That's all, her, as dad and head of the household, putting all that structure in place, right? You got to drop the hammer every now and then, but, all of the loving, the care, the day to day, that's her. Like today, we had to be here. Normally we split, and she'll take, one of the girls to school, and I take the other girls to school. She took everybody to school. It wasn't even a conversation they really need to be had about it, because it was understanding. So it's that.
Yeah, that's really dope. I want to kind of transition a little bit to talk about community a bit, right? Because all of the work that you do is deeply rooted in community. One of the things that I appreciate the most about you is how deeply rooted in community you actually are. The people that, in this community that look like you, even people that don't look like you, like that's what really drives your work. Talk about that. Like why is community at the focus of all of the work that you do?
I think because I was raised on community. My sister's, she's sitting over there, and every Friday, right, it was community at our grandparents' house, right? We knew everybody was going to be at, where all the cousins going to be at. Food was going to be cooked, whether it was fish or chicken, right? Catfish back in the day in the 90s. It wasn't haddock and salmon and all that crazy stuff, right? But it was built on community. Everything we did, when we went to church, it was community, right? When you went to school, it was community. So everything really around was really from a community aspect. So I think it was just how I was raised. So it was naturally a thing to kind of come out. And then when you be playing sports when you're coming up, right? It's all community. So and that kind of like segues into what we're doing here, right? What we envision as this music festival with Beau Fleuve, and it transitioned into this organization to now, we have this social clubhouse, which is the River Club, that is built on community building, right? And yes, the events are the piece to it, the hook, right? But now this is the value add, where we want people to be able to build amongst each other, right? You may see somebody at an event or out, and now it's the opportunity to connect. Where I'm able to today is because, people who are ahead of me invited me out to coffee, right? And it says, hey, meet me for 15 minutes for coffee, and let's have a quick conversation, right? And then they go on about their day, right? And then it spurred into even more into community back. This how this started back in 5 years ago. Well, about to be 5 years ago. the pandemic, right? Where working in real estate, the whole world shut down, right? Everybody experienced that in this room. The whole world shut down. So we couldn't sell no property, couldn't go to nobody's house or nobody's building. So how can you show your value add? How can you continue to still build your network and your community? Well, okay, I know that I have individuals around me who can share some insight, right, to those who are just sitting at home or want to connect further. So how did I get the insight? Through having a conversation over coffee. So let's share that and title this Monday Morning Coffee. So that started on Zoom. Right? We're having a conversation like this where people literally on their Zoom. So imagine 5 years ago, everybody's on their Zoom just listening in. They got to start asking questions, right? So now how do we bring that back into an in-person fold? And this is where we're at today, building on community. So I hope that everybody here walks away from someone in here, building a connection. If you don't know, I always say, if you don't know somebody, get to know them in here, right? Because that's the true value add to what we want to do. So community is just how I was raised and what I want to continue to do, and having fun with it. So,
talk to me a little bit about like how do you envision creating pipelines, leadership pipelines, right? Because me and you have had conversations before on a number of occasions where you told me you don't want to be doing this stuff forever, right? So you look around the room, I see people like Chad, like Calvin, like Ron, like what I feel is like the next generation of leadership that's happening here in the city. Can you talk about like the importance of building those leadership pipelines, so we can make sure that, that next generation gets an opportunity just to push things forward as well?
Well, yeah. So it's one is succession planning, right? And I would say for a large part of our community, right, we haven't really seen succession planning, right? A lot of organizations that look like people that represented by me, when that leader and that figurehead, God forbid, passed away or they moved on, the organization kind of went like this. So particularly, and I'll speak from my perspective with Beau Fleuve, there's a strategic plan that's already in place, that's already in flow of succession planning, right? Where it should not live or die on the strengths of myself. Right. So, putting in a pipeline in which we have a 10-year legacy pipeline that's already in effect. We're seeing youth that's already coming up from creative arts programs to internships to project managers now, in leadership roles, to board members. Right. And, I'm 37, so I'm not waiting till I'm 57 to do that for somebody who's 27. Right. I want to do it for somebody who's 27 while I'm 37, while, my network is continuously growing. Let's bring you along as well too, and because people have done that for me, right? But I know it hasn't happened for everybody, right? Sometimes we do see the glass ceiling, sometimes we do see gatekeeping happening, but that doesn't revolve around the community that I want to build, right? So one is going to be succession planning, which is in place. So you'll start to hear some more things about that in the coming months of what that looks like on the Beau Fleuve side. But always, for individuals, that you kind of mentioned, is like, if I got something to know, I'm going to give it to you because somebody gave it to me, right? And that's just what it is. Nobody charged me for what I know, what was given to me, so I'm going to do the same thing for you, and hopefully in return, you do the same thing for somebody right behind you.
That's super dope, bro. So ultimately, what does impact and sustainability look like in all the things that you have going on?
Impact looks like, what's in this room, right? I always said this, when I was there, it's like, excuse me, I know we have a mixed up. I don't know how we can get everybody in the room at 8 o'clock in the morning, especially people look like me, get at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? But impact looks like, it comes from an authentic place. It has to come from an authentic place. It doesn't want to seek the recognition of the awards, even though I get them or we get them, right? But it looks like, when I hear, some of our, people like Rudy and Kayla and Chad talk about what they're trying to do for the next generation, right? Or people just sending a message and saying how they felt about something, or they're inviting somebody else to that space, right? Or just seeing how something just naturally just grows over time with that impact. So it just looks like what we continuously looking to do, right? Creating spaces, right? Impact. What we're in here right now, this is I'm a first saying a woman-owned business, right, by two sisters, right? Secondly, by a Black-owned business, a minority-owned business, right? So to bring, 20 to 30 people here in the space, right, to come and support their business, right, at 8 o'clock in the morning, and on the same time of being able to make a connection and build on community, and we all further what we want to do individually and as a whole, that's impact. right? We talk about supporting small business. Each and every one of us are doing it here in this room, right? So that's what impact looks like. Yeah.
That's super dope, bro. And I know we're coming up on time. We want to make sure that you guys get out of here and get to work on time. We don't want to blame Lindsay for you guys being late today. Just talk a little bit as we begin to wrap up. You have a lot of initiatives in the works right now. I know it's a lot of expansion that's taking place with Beau Fleuve. Some things that's happening outside of the area as well. Can you talk about what's next? What's coming up next for you?
Yeah, so it's what's really coming up next. You know, Beau Fleuve's going into his 10-year anniversary, right? This coming year.
Yeah, let's clap it up for that, y'all. Let's clap it up for that. That's gonna be huge next year.
Yeah, so it's coming to his 10-year anniversary next year. So that's gonna be really great to see, right? For a decade straight, no pauses, no breaks, just 10 consecutive years. Long years, long years, but grateful for it all because what we've been able to achieve over these 10 years have been really great, right? But then when you also speak about what is going to be coming in the fold, I know you talk about expansion, things with the River Club, right? And I'll leave everybody with this as people are continuously seeing what the River Club really is, right? It was literally built. I'm giving it to y'all, and I'll let y'all go to work because I got to get to work myself too, right? It was built off of all of these events that we were doing throughout the year, right? And people literally coming to us to say, Lindsay, why don't you just put all of this in a package so I can pay it at one time, and then we don't have to, we ain't got to worry about it. I said, and it kept happening. I'm like, okay. But then now, okay, not just doing it like that, but let's build it with impact and let's build it with some intention in mind, right? So with doing that, okay, we have a foundation within Beau Fleuve, right? So as we have fun, we're also giving back, right? We're also pushing a mission forward. We're pushing something impactful forward, right? But then also not even so much just on the events, in which we had some really great events this past year, or whether you went to the polo match or we went to the Finger Lakes or, you know, many other things that we're doing, right? It's now it's continuously having those value adds, right? Monday morning coffee, right? Whether it's pickleball, whether it's golf, whether it's those other connection pieces, some more things that we're going to be doing in the springtime. We will have doing some out of region things, right? Particularly in the Finger Lakes region. Continuously that impact there on our summer retreat. We have some things in the work in Niagara-on-the-Lakes, right across the border in Southern Ontario. You'll see some stuff coming out this week for our ski weekend in MOK down in Allegheny. And then also our 3-hour approach, right? Our 3-hour approach is really starting to make some imprints, right, in markets within 3 hours of us, right? So that's Syracuse, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Erie, Toronto, right? Places that we can drive to easily, that would you want to drive here easily, and really creating this more regional Northeast community. And as you'll be able to see, even far as down as to the DMV area, right? In which we had a really impactful weekend during CBC and continue seeing that imprint there. So, and a lot of that was built on a development standpoint, right? Is that if you're in a nonprofit space that you know that there's 20,000, I may be shorting it, nonprofits here in Buffalo, New York, right? And those 20,000 go to Oshai every single year asking for money, right? So how do you expand that development strategy, right? You got to get outside the region, right? And also at the same time, building that with the River Club is that there's individuals like those in this room that want to have more third spaces with people that are like-minded like them, that are like being like them. So let's reach out to them as well too. So you'll start seeing some more impact in those areas in those regions. So stay tuned for that as that will start to roll out more towards the end of the year. And we're really excited for 2026.
Well, Lindsay, you are a true visionary. You are a man, again, of many talents, and but also to this, all of the things that you do to keep community at the forefront. It should be celebrated more, right? And I know I've had the opportunity to celebrate you and to recognize you for this amazing work that you've done and you continue to do. And we just thank you. Thank you just for all the things that you've done to keep pushing our community forward here in the city of Buffalo and really putting Buffalo on the map, you know, with all of the amazing things that you're doing. So if you guys could just give another round of applause to my brother, Lindsay Taylor.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Really appreciate each and every one of you guys for being here. Again, I know there were some cards that were laying around here. If you guys want some information about the River Club, about Beau Fleuve, There's some cards that has some information on how to join and get more information about how you guys can get involved with all of the amazing things that Lindsay has going on.
Don, our board president's right here. She gonna sell you. Hey, no, I appreciate everybody for coming out. This is the first one of our series. So what this kind of looks like for Monday Morning Coffee, we're gonna do this in a 4-part series. So our next one is in 2 weeks. So we'll be going all the way until December 1st. So we'll have 4 of these, and then we're gonna take a break. We're gonna put an out of office on December 2nd. Until the end of the year, so you will not get anything from Beau Fleuve for the month of December, right? But we will then continue Monday Morning Coffees back in the springtime. So let the snow thaw off, right? But we'll start reconnecting back in the springtime with another series. But we will be having more connection points outside of Monday Morning Coffee. So please build. I know we got about a couple more minutes before everybody has to run, but meet somebody else new today, please. Grab their card, connect with them, join us, join them on LinkedIn. You can follow the River Club on LinkedIn as well too. So thank everybody and have a great work week. Thank you.
One more thing, I would be remiss if we did not recognize Unapologetic Coffee. Thank you guys for hosting us here today. Can you guys give a huge round of applause to Unapologetic Coffee? This is an amazing, beautiful spot, and we just really thank you guys for all of you guys for being here. All right, take care, guys.